Hello viewers, today for repair we have a Uniden DWX337 telephone, and the issue with this telephone is the center navigation button has failed, and this is a very common failure, and I will explain why when I open it up. Now unfortunately this uses a series of odd size bolts. You can see them there. I'm not exactly sure what the name for them is offhand, but they're certainly not something that most people have. I have a set of fairly exotic different bolts, drivers rather, here. And let's see if we can get one that fits. It's a little bit too big. Okay, that'll work. I've removed all the screws, but for whatever reason they don't want to come out of the casing, so we'll just work with it as it is. This is what the inside of one of these looks like. We have our charge induction wire there, we have the battery wires there, and then the speaker. We have, let's see, we got 4 more screws here we're going to pull out to get the board off. And I'm not going to mess with anything in there because there's just no reason to. Should be able to pull this out now. Okay, and here we have our board. So the way this works is we have the, let's see if I can get this off of here. On this side of the telephone we have these buttons. Actually, I'll just pull them out. Get him out. So this is the physical thing that you press on the outside of the phone, and it presses down on this piece of paper, and this piece of paper has these little black dots are conductive material which make contact with the board here, which registers each press of the button. Now, for some strange reason that I will never understand, Uniden decided to make these 4 navigation buttons not part of the paper, and they put the conductive material right on the dial pad itself. And I mean, you can do that, but the problem is when this starts to get dirty from the oils on your hands and whatnot, this provides an extra layer of protection before that oil gets in between the conductive material on this pad and on the board. Whereas with these 4 buttons on here, there is nothing separating the, or rather there's no extra protection between the actual contacts. And what you'll notice here, I'll zoom in and you can see it a little bit better. What you'll notice here on this particular dial board here is this shiny kind of a slick substance, and if you look right on these conductive pads here, you can see that they are completely covered in this material. Now I don't quite understand how it gets into these telephones, because if water can't get into the telephone, I don't see why anything else will be able to get into the telephone. But either way, somehow this material has gotten into the telephone, and this is what's causing the problem. Now if you look on the board here, Let's see if I can get a good angle on this so that the light reflects it. There we go. You'll see that these 4 contacts here, which are the ones that are not working, are also covered in this sticky stuff, whereas the remainder of the board is largely clean, generally speaking. So this is why it's not working. There's enough of that sticky material on there which is preventing the dial pad here, the buttons, from making a good connection to the board. So what we're going to do to fix this is we're just going to give this a good cleaning. We're going to come in here and clean up the board. We're going to remove all that material, that sticky material from the dial contacts there. We're going to clean all the contacts. And we also are going to have to clean this in order to get that sticky material off of here. Now I'm noticing now that the sticky material is also all inside the handset as well. So we're going to go ahead and clean the handset as well, this outer shell. So we'll clean this, clean this, clean this, clean this, and we'll clean this. And that should resolve the problem. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this now, and then we'll pick back up on the video. Okay, we're back, and everything has been cleaned. You can see on the telephone board itself, we no longer have this shiny sticky material over those 4 center navigation button contacts. And similarly on the buttons themselves, you can see that they're now a matte, clean finish, and there's no more shiny material on there. That sticky material is all gone. Now, you have to be very careful with the way you clean these, because if you don't clean them correctly, you can actually clean off the conductive material that's on there, and then you're going to have a problem because it's not going to work. But anyway, so that's cleaned up now, and we're ready to put the telephone back together. So I'm going to put the buttons back in here. And before I put everything back together, I will just demonstrate that it's working. So I'll connect the battery here. And it may not be 100% accurate right now because it's hard to get the dial board aligned exactly on the contacts. But if it's in the right place, you can see that it is working. So that's good. Good enough for now just to show that. So we'll put the buttons back in here, and we have to make sure that the buttons are inserted in such a way that the watertight seal is not compromised. I don't like the way that's sitting up in there, but I think it's been like that forever, so like that it will have to stay. And I'll put our conductive material pad on there, and so that's ready to go now. So I'm going to I'm going to put the board back in place, and let me get the screws in here, and then we'll give this a more accurate test. Okay, so I've installed the board back in place, and I'm going to go ahead and plug in the battery now. And we're going to see here that the center navigation button, when pressed with a reasonable amount of force, is now working perfectly fine. Okay, so that is working. I'm going to finish putting the screws back in, and this telephone will be repaired. Okay, all the screws are in place and we're ready to do our final checkout. As you can see, it is charging. Okay, now we'll test the button again. Right, down, up, left. And we'll make a test call. Check 1 2 1 2 3. Hello. Testing 1. Let's unmute it. Testing 1 2 3 4 5 6. Check 1 2. It's not muted. 1 2 3. Okay, so that is all working now, and our center navigation button is working correctly, and this telephone is ready to go back in service. Thank you for watching. Comment, subscribe, and out.